All right, welcome in to the newest episode of the ASN Ranking Show. Today we are talking about Class 3A. A lot of movement in the 3A rankings, especially after the Rivercrest versus Newport game last week that affected the rankings some. That was a close game that came down to the wire with Rivercrest pulling it out against a really tough Newport team. Um, really, um, just a couple of small things that really make a big effect. And it's going to be there's going to be a lot of movement the next couple weeks with conference play starting to ramp up a little bit. But before you do anything else, make sure that you are subscribed to the Arkansas Sports Network. If you want more high school sports content like this, just go ahead and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We post new content pretty much every day at this point. So go ahead and go follow us over there. And go ahead and subscribe right here on YouTube. Hit the notification bell if you want to know whenever a new video comes out from the Arkansas Sports Network. Um, Aside from that, we're going to go ahead and get into the rankings here. Number one, no surprise, Prescott leads the way once again. The Curly Wolves hold on to that number one spot as their undefeated record speaks for itself. Number two, Boonville. Again, not a whole lot of movement in this top three. Boonville remains at number two with some impressive wins on their record. Number three, Rivercrest. Again, impressive win over Newport last week. A game a lot of people picked Newport to win. But Rivercrest able to pull it out. They show that they are still as talented, if not more talented, than last year's team that made it to the 4A state title game. And moving down to 3A has proven to be a good move for Rivercrest. We're going to move on to number four here, Fordyce. Fordyce is a team that looks better every week because Monticello looks better every week. Monticello was Fordyce's first win of the season, and they looked really good in that game. Fordyce, of course, a blue blood in the state of Arkansas, a very storied program, and hard to keep Fordyce out of the top 10 every year. And of course, this year they make it to number four, jumping Newport after Newport's loss to Rivercrest last week. Number five, Newport. Newport, led by Keandre Baker, they came up just short against Rivercrest in the game that probably had the biggest impact on the rankings aside from the Walnut Ridge loss. They looked really good in that game, but just came up short. Their defense had a hard time stopping Rivercrest and Cavante Washington. And Newport, we still feel like is a top five team. Mark Tree in 2A is a team that makes Newport look better every week because with their win with Newport's win over Mark Tree in their first game of the season, it kind of established that Newport could hang with some of the best that the lower classifications had to offer, and so far they are meeting or exceeding those expectations. Number six, Bismarck. They've been really impressive. A win over Mansfield to start the season. That was our ASN game of the week. If you want to learn more about Bismarck and Mansfield, go back and watch that stream. Bismarck's a really fun program. It's a really interesting program because of the returning production they had from last season. They've proven that they've been able to build off of what they did last season. A couple of really impressive wins for Bismarck to start the season. And then rolling into conference play, haven't had a whole lot of trouble. Number seven, Mayflower. I feel like they're one of the sleeper teams in the class. Start the season, they dominated Bigelow, who was the defending 2A state champions, and I mentioned that probably every week because it's really impressive to mercy rule a defending state champion. And they did it. Had a dominant win over Class 2A England as well, and they've just continued to roll into conference play. And Mayflower looking better and better every week as well. Number 8, the Ryzen Wildcats. Ryzen is a team that will definitely be tested when it comes time to play Fordyce later in the season. Of course, that rivalry game always has a lot of anticipation, no matter how good each team is. Um, but this year there's going to be some extra energy around that game because both teams are ranked in our top 10. Um, really exciting game uh, between those two, and I can't talk enough about it. It's just that's just how that game is every year, and then you put on top of it that it's going to be a conference game and it's going to be between two top 10 teams. It's going to be hard to hold your excitement if you're a Ryzen or a Fordyce fan for that game. Salem, number 9. They move up a spot from last week with the Walnut Ridge loss that bumped a couple teams into our top, or either up in our top 10 or into our top 10. Uh, Salem had a tough loss against Prescott earlier in the season, um, but they are an offense that can put up points. They play in a conference that I think they can easily get um, some home field advantage in the playoffs. Um, I do think that they're a really good team, really good program. And I think that they're going to surprise some people with how well they perform the rest of the season. Number 10, McGee. McGee played some tough 4A opponents in non-conference that really made them maybe not look as strong as they are, and they've turned out to be a really strong 3A program. For whatever reason, this season it seems like the outside of Greenwood just dominating 7A schools. It seems like when teams are playing teams that are in a higher classification than them. Of course, with the exception of Fordyce and Monticello as well, that game Fordyce looked dominant in. Um, and Boonville beat Ozark. Of course, I keep listing off exceptions, but a lot of teams have struggled against teams from higher classifications this season. Um, but McGee has bounced back and they've performed really well in their 3A games this week, and they continue to look better as the season goes on. All right, Class 3A games happening on Friday. A lot of action going on in Class 3A, 24 games on Friday. We're going to start with Newport versus Osceola. Um, Osceola is a team that's just outside of our top 10. We're really excited about the outcome of this matchup. I'm going to pick Newport to get the victory. It's hard to pick against them at this point with how effective their rushing attack is. Of course, a tough loss to Rivercrest. I keep talking about that game, but it was a really exciting game, a really interesting game that really is going to affect the outcome of that conference and the rest of the season. If you are Newport, you now have to hope that you win out in conference and that Rivercrest takes 2 losses in conference. It's going to be a tough road to be a conference champion now for Newport. It can be done, but it's going to be a tough road ahead for Newport. But I do think they get the victory against a tough Osceola team this week. Parker's Chapel versus Horatio, both teams 1-4. I'm going to pick Parker's Chapel to win in this game. Both teams struggling. Of course, Parker's Chapel moving from 8-man to 11-man this season. And a really a must-win game for both programs. They want to get their season back on track. Whichever team wins this game is going to have some momentum heading into the rest of the season. Whoever loses this game is going to have a tough time bouncing back. I'm going to pick Parker's Chapel to get the victory. Manila versus Harrisburg. Manila 0-5, Harrisburg 1-4. I'm going to pick Harrisburg to get the victory because it's at Harrisburg. I think their home field advantage will help them substantially. And I think that they're going to get their second win of the season this week over Manila. Hoxie versus Rivercrest. Hoxie a little bit down this season. They're 2-3. Rivercrest is undefeated at 5-0. Rivercrest all day. Rivercrest, aside from having the home field advantage, which is really going to help them, Rivercrest is just really dominant. They're a top 3 team for a reason. I'm going to pick Rivercrest to get the victory in this game and move to 6-0 and undefeated in conference play as well. Salem versus Atkins. Salem 3-2. Atkins 4-1. This game is at Atkins. If Atkins wins this game, they're set up in a really good spot in this conference. I've gotten a chance to see Atkins play at Atkins. It's a tough place to play. And I think this game is going to be very close. I think that Salem gets the victory in a close game. Atkins, though, if they were a field goal away from sending uh, Class 2A number 2 Conway Christian to overtime, they easily could have won that game if it wasn't for some turnovers. Um, I think that if they can find a way to win, their season's going to be in a really good place. And I think that Atkins, um, regardless of what happens this week, will still have a really good season and be in a good position, um, in a good position to win a lot of games this season. Their only loss so far was to Conway Christian, who is a tough team to beat for anybody. So I'm going to pick Salem to win this game. Close, close, close game with Salem as the victor. Mountain View versus Yellville Summit. This game is at Yellville Summit. Both teams 2-3. Chaston McCarthy leads Yellville Summit as their head coach this season. I'm going to pick Yellville Summit to get the victory in this game, in a close game, because it's at Yellville Summit. They're going to get the victory. Melbourne versus Mayflower. Melbourne, they're a team that is 4-1. Mayflower is 5-0. It's really tough to pick against Mayflower. Of course, with an undefeated start, ranked top 10 by pretty much every metric and every media outlet. Melbourne's not a bad team at all, but I think it's going to be tough playing at Mayflower as well. I'm going to give Mayflower the victory in this game. Prescott versus Harmony Grove, Washita County. Prescott undefeated 5-0. Harmony Grove, Washita County 3-2. I think that Harmony Grove, Washita County is a fantastic team. Took care of Junction City in their first game of the season, and that proved to me early in the season that they were going to be a legitimate team, and that they were going to be able to compete with pretty much anybody. I think this is a very competitive game. It's going to be a tough road test for Prescott, but I think Prescott gets the victory and moves to 6-0. I don't think that a 500 record, if Harmony Grove, Washita County were to lose this week, is reflective of how good of a team they are. But I think that it's still going to be a very good ball game, and the Harmony Grove, Washita County still has a lot of good football ahead of them. Piggott versus Walnut Ridge. Walnut Ridge took their first loss of the season last week. Piggott hasn't won a game all year. I'm going to give Walnut Ridge the edge in this game by a big margin. Going to be a tough game for Piggott to probably get anything going, really. It's just a program that's in a rebuilding phase right now. And Walnut Ridge has a really good class, really good couple classes in there right now. I'm going to pick Walnut Ridge to get the victory in this game. Perryville versus Paris. Perryville is a really, really experienced and talented team. Coach Fairbanks doing a fantastic job. Their only loss was to Atkins, and Atkins is looking better every week. And Paris, the game's at Paris. That might make it tougher on Perryville to get a victory, but I am going to give the Mustangs the W in this one in a close game. Paris is a team that's 3-2. They're going to be a challenge, but I think that Perryville gets the victory in this game. Ryzen versus McGee. Ryzen undefeated 5-0. McGee 3-2. McGee has shown they can compete really well with 3A talent and 3A schools, 3A programs. I'm going to give the edge to McGee in this game because it's at McGee. I've gone back and forth on this one. Whoever wins this game is set up really well, not only in our rankings, but in conference play. This game could be a turning point for both teams, depending on the outcome. But I'm going to pick McGee to get the victory in a close game. Two Rivers versus Magnet Cove. Magnet Cove gets the victory big in this one. Don't think there's a whole lot to be said about this game. Lavaca versus Mansfield. Both teams 3-2. Um, I'm going to pick Mansfield to get the victory. It's at Mansfield. That's going to help them a lot. Coach Overton does a really fantastic job as the head coach there, and Mansfield will roll in this game. Uh, could be a close game, but I think Mansfield's going to have a good day running the ball. Fordyce versus Palestine Wheatley. Fordyce is going to win big in this game. The Red Bugs will roll to a victory over Palestine Wheatley and continue their undefeated season. Quitman versus Episcopal. Episcopal 0-5. Quitman 2-3. Quitman has come out and had some had a couple victories. Episcopal hasn't won a game. 0-5. Games at Episcopal that could help. I do think Episcopal has a chance to win this game, but I'm going to pick Quitman to get the victory in this game over Episcopal and get another conference victory. Hackett versus Charleston. Charleston is a very storied program. They're a traditional power. Coach Ricky May usually has them on their A game by this time in the season, so I'm going to pick Charleston to get the victory in this one. Smackover versus Centerpoint. I think Smackover is better than their 2-3 record shows. Mitchell Polk is a fantastic quarterback. Coach Harrison, Don Harrison, at Smackover, maybe just needed some more time to get things implemented. I'm going to go with an upset and pick Smackover. With Centerpoint being undefeated, it might be an upset pick. I'm going to pick Smackover to win in this game. Cedarville and West Fork. Cedarville 1-4, West Fork 0-5. If Cedarville can get a victory, it'll be their second victory of the season. They're going to have a little bit of momentum. But I'm going to pick West Fork to get the victory in this game. Boonville versus Greenland. I've said it every week, Slade Norwood, fantastic quarterback at Greenland. If Boonville can't defend the pass, this could be an upset, potentially. But it's hard to pick against Boonville at this point. I'm going to pick Boonville and the Bearcats to get a victory in a game that I think is going to be closer than people expect. Falk versus Bismarck. Falk started their season 3-0. They've had back-to-back losses. I'm going to pick Bismarck to get the victory in this game and move to 6-0 on the season. Barton and Dumas. Dumas 1-4, Barton 3-2. I'm going to pick Barton to get the victory in this game in a close one. Going to be a good road victory for Barton if they can pull it off, and I think they will and move to 4-2 on the season. Jessieville and Glen Rose. Jessieville has played a lot of good teams. Ooh. And they've played some tough competition from 2A and 3A, Mount Ida and Mayflower, and so on and so on. I'm going to pick Jessieville to get the victory over Glen Rose in this game. They're going to move to 5-1. Glen Rose is a team that's a little bit down this year. Coach Keener kind of expected that. They have had a little bit of momentum going their way recently. But I think Coach Keener kind of expected with a young class this year it was going to be difficult to get things rolling. I think that Jessieville gets the victory in this one pretty easily. Lakeside versus Drew Central. Drew Central and Lakeside both struggling this season. I'm going to pick Drew Central to get a victory in a close game because the game is at Drew Central. Danville versus Cutter Morning Star. Cutter Morning Star 0-5, having a rough transition from 8-man to 11-man this season in Class 3A. Danville 1-4. I'm going to pick Danville and Coach Crane to get the victory in this game and move to 2-4 on the season and get a conference win. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Class 3A picks and rankings. Some really exciting games that could change some teams' seasons, and could really be a turning point for a lot of teams this season. Don't forget to subscribe to the Arkansas Sports Network YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X. We are posting content all the time, so go ahead and follow us on those platforms and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Hit the notification bell if you want to be updated whenever we post a new video. But until next time, you're watching the ASN Rankings Report. I'm Carson Ward, signing off.